In conjunction with Hardcore Wrestling Radio and WGS TV, along with ZFX, I'm Double B Billy Boudreaux, along with the host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, the illuminous one, the shining star, Rick Starr. Rick, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there, Billy. Thanks for having me.
And ladies and gentlemen, we do have a very special guest to talk with you on, with us here on this very special interview. Former ECW star, and simply known as the sexiest man on earth. Man known as Jason, aka Jason Knight from World Wrestling Organization. Jason, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I appreciate that. But you can drop all that sexiest man stuff. That was Paul Heyman's idea, and it worked for a while, and then I started hating it. I wanted to move on, kind of get with the times and everything. But it's a good memory. But I kind of like doing my own thing now as well.
Now, for the fans who are listening in right now, or they're not familiar with World Wrestling Organization, tell everybody just what exactly WWO is all about.
Well, back in the day, during the 90s, before ECW was taken over by Paul Heyman, World Wrestling Organization was an up-and-coming company, and I wrestled for them, and I held their belt there for a while, and then had to relinquish it because I was going to ECW in 1993. So I pretty much relinquished the title, and now what we're doing is the title is vacant, and this Friday in New Jersey, Patterson, New Jersey, we are going to, well, actually they're putting it up, and it's going to be between me and Magic. And we'll see who the better man is. Will be the WWO World Champion.
Now, Jason, you made mention of the fact that the gimmick that was given to you by in ECW by Paul Heyman. I gotta ask you, was the idea to pair you and Justin Credible at the time, was that also Paul Heyman's idea?
Yeah. I think that what happened was that he saw an incredible potential in BJ, and the thing was that he just sort of needed a mouthpiece in the very beginning, because he was quite used to the whole idea of him and I both were enhancement guys back in the day in the WWF at the time, before they told us all to get the F out. And then later on, he went, I think, to Memphis, and he did the PJ 187, and I think that was with Wolfie and Jamie. This is what was the information that was given to me anyway. So in any case, he came in, and he still had that little bit of tremendous work, tremendous potential, but just to be introduced into the ECW style and the way we did things over there, which was quite a bit different than anywhere else. And he fit in quite well, but I was sort of like in the beginning his manager, his mouthpiece, and we traveled all through the United States, him and I, and pretty much at every TV taping and every house show, we were the main event as a tag team versus Mikey Whipwreck and Tommy Dreamer. And because this wasn't televised, this was like the big tag team blow off for the end of the night, the main event. We teamed up a lot, and I think we were a great team as well. And I just the manager and the wrestler and that type of thing. And besides, I always hated being a manager anyway. I despised it. In the beginning, I liked it because it gave me a chance to beginning, I mean, the 1993, because in 1993, which a lot of people don't know, summer 1993, I had a major back surgery, and a couple of weeks later, another one. And the fall of 1993, I got in the ring and wrestled for ECW, and that was my debut. So trying to save my lower back and get back into the whole thing, I became a manager, and I was under the impression that it was going to be a temporary thing, but it went over pretty well. And, you know, it was sort of like a knife with two edges, because on one hand it was very good, it went over pretty well. On the other hand, I kind of had to stay a manager, and that's kind of hard to do when you are just as good or, you know, in better shape than some of the guys you're managing and have more experience and all that. So that kind of looked awkward and felt awkward to me. And, you know, toward the end, the fans kind of saw through it. And, you know, I just felt, especially during the time of the Impact players with Dawn Marie there, I felt like the fifth wheel, you know, that I wasn't needed there, because the three of them would have done quite well. And you know, I should have been out of that team pretty much the moment they decided to team him up and Dawn Marie was there. They didn't need another guy there. So that was that's pretty much the history of that. And yes, Paul Heyman did decide that I should manage PJ, but him being so talented, he rose up to the top so quickly, you know, that all of a sudden he didn't need that mouthpiece, the manager, the whatever, you know. So that's where I think that I should have just, you know, been let's do my own thing in the company.
Now, when WWE started buying out ECW contracts and then eventually leading to the entire buyout of ECW, was there ever any talks of bringing you into the company?
Well, when they ran the first pay-per-view and the second pay-per-view, I was there. And after the second pay-per-view, I was supposed to be in Pittsburgh for the big angle between the ECW guys and John Cena, because, as you recall, the night before, John Cena had to drop the title to the ever-talented Rob Van Dam, which is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to pick between two, sorry, you know, Rob takes the cake, right? And, you know, we're just being realistic here. You know, we're not talking about, you know, who can sell more T-shirts and hats. You know, we're just talking about who is better for the product, you know, the ECW product. And, you know, that's Rob. And they were doing the whole thing with that. And I was supposed to be in Pittsburgh the next day, but I got a call from Tommy Dreamer at some crazy hour, like almost like noontime, like, hey, I need you to get on the plane and be here in Pittsburgh. I forgot to tell you last night that you were booked on Raw, live on Raw, and, you know, we're doing this thing. And I'm like, dude, I don't even have, and, you know, quite frankly, what happened was it was my fault. I did not bring my identification with me. I had no ID on me. So the plane ticket, he's like, you know, I'll have the plane ticket waiting. Where are you? I said, I'm in Manhattan. And I said, well, go to LaGuardia. But I said, I can't get on the plane, you know. And the thing is that if I was told that the night before, I would have said, oh, gosh, you know, I don't have my identification card. I can't get on a plane, but I can get on a bus. I would have been on a bus, and I would have been in Pittsburgh, you know. I had no problem with doing that. So that, you know, that kind of, I don't know if that hindered it or what, you know, and I don't really think if I care that much because of what happened with the ECW later on. And then they were talking about something with Credible and I, and then they were even thinking about me managing Sabu. And then there were also talks with putting me to, remember when Kurt Angle used to do those matches where he would like headbutt you and then, you know, beat you down and all that? Yeah. That type of thing. So I was okay with whatever, you know, it's like, it's WWE, you know, it's, you know, it's the ultimate sports entertainment. And I knew from the very beginning why we were there. We were there just, you know, for the product to get over for the sake of the WWE. And, you know, in the end, he was going to shit on it anyway. So I knew that at the very beginning. And, you know, I mean, I would have liked to have earned a little bit more of those Stamford, Connecticut dollars. But, you know, at the same time, it was, you know, it was just like, you know, to me, it was like Vince McMahon took this good-looking cake, like a wedding cake, and then he dressed it up, and then what he did was he simply flushed it down the toilet on purpose. So, I think it was just done in a very malicious manner, and well, whatever. I guess he can do whatever he does. I guess he's God.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, that was actually my next question, but I was gonna ask you if you think that he did it out of spite, or do you think he did it because he just simply doesn't understand what the fans want when it comes to ECW?
I think that everything that he touches, that he did not create himself, he will take gold and he'll turn it into scat. It's like, that. It's like those cartoons where you have these beautiful flowers blooming, and that Dick Dastardly, whatever, walks by and just with his own breath, it's like these beautiful roses, they just die. I think he does it out of spite because there's venom within him, and it's just the way that the person is. There are people that are born to this world that are very, very mean, but yet they're very successful and they move on because they're also very smart and shrewd and that type of a thing. And I truly believe that a guy like Vince McMahon and other people that are working with him and for him are just like him. And this is only a fact. It's not a stab at him, but come on, you can't tell me that he doesn't look in the mirror, every morning, and that he says, "Oh, I'm this great guy," because he knows he's not. He knows that he gets off on inflicting pain on others, on taking products such as the beautiful NWA, some of the best products from Mid Atlantic, and the best product from back in the day, Eddie Graham's Florida Championship Wrestling, making it his own. And then, it's all, well, so WWE presents this and that. Where back in the day, it was like apples and oranges. We were talking about, different styles and, different, just a whole different psychological approach to professional wrestling. And yes, I do think very strongly, I believe, that he does it on purpose. And I think that it was like that little thing when you have in your eye, but you can't find it, yet it bothers you. It's like when you have a giant, but you step on his toe, and it hurts him. Well, he's that giant that pretty much said, well, fuck it, I'm just going to cut off this toe because it's hurting me. And obviously, with Paul Heyman being very. Well, I'm trying to put this politically correct because, I don't really want to, crap on Paul because I do owe him a hell of a lot. And, I always will, like I said, there are two sides of that story. But it's like, they both knew, that we're going to do this. And then, finally at the end, Paul knew whom he was selling his company to. And, he knew that he was going to benefit, and a lot of other people, guys are going to starve and die and, and friggin', be suicidal and all that. So, but yeah, go back to Vince McMahon. I think he fully knew exactly what it was going to do, and anything that he doesn't create on his own that is over, that the fans love, because he takes it and he destroys it because he wants this new product, this crap, this garbage, this trash, this atrocity that you see on TV these days, taking these wonderful athletes that can do so much and making them into simple clowns, and these bunch of bad soap opera type, and then you have a few, of the ones that are on top that they perform like 6 moves all together, and it's all about merchandise. It's all about him winning in the end. This is the guy that would cut off his nose to spite his face and then bleed all over you. That's the kind of a person he is. And like I said,